In the sci-fi short The Drift, we follow an astronaut completely severed from command. There is no radio chatter, no backup, just the terrifying silence of deep space and a desperate struggle to reach a life-saving tether. Switch to the western frontier of Don't Listen to This Ballad Alone. The black vacuum is replaced by a sun-bleached desert, but the environmental pressure is the same. The glaring sun and endless sand serve as a mirrored version of that hostile void. The astronaut and the gunslinger are chasing the same objective. They are isolated individuals searching for a physical and psychological anchor in an environment designed to erode them. To capture that weight, you can't rely on digital shortcuts. It requires a level of cinematic authenticity that forces the viewer to feel the heat and the isolation right alongside the character. This is a challenge because modern viewers, particularly Gen Z, have developed a harsh psychological resistance to sterile CGI. They can spot the difference between a lived-in world and a digital asset almost instantly. This chart tracks retention across different content styles, and the results are clear. We see a steep drop-off in engagement for polished corporate media that feels like AI slop. Meanwhile, authentic, real-life content maintains a much higher level of audience attention. Bypassing this defense mechanism requires a specific type of creative engineering. To convince the viewer a world is real, you have to build in raw, multi-layered synchronization, intentional grit that breaks through the digital polish. And this creates a massive technical wall. Standard editing software and off-the-shelf publishing platforms are designed for the middle of the road. They often choke on the complexity of dynamic, high-grit storytelling. When the infrastructure fails to support the story, you're left with a choice: strip down the vision to fit the template, or build your own production pipeline from the ground up. Instead of compromising the art to fit the platform, we chose to build our own factory. This is the schematic for the Custom Volts Zero GPU production engine. A cloud-hosted rendering system handles the heavy lifting via a Gradio interface. It orchestrates rendering in real time, taking fragmented inputs and processing them into a single, synchronized output stream, allowing for textures standard software would smooth away. This back-end infrastructure functioned as the foundation for the entire project, providing the technical stability required to actually render the front-end art. Once the engine was built, we put it to work generating raw, tactile textures, the kind of audio-visual details that ground a character in their environment. You see it in the heavy mechanical tether of a spacecraft or the rusted iron of a frontier outpost. These macro shots emphasize the weight and the friction of the world, making the environment feel physically present. Prioritizing human truth over CGI perfection lowers the viewer's guard. When the world feels real, the audience stops looking for the seams and starts engaging with the character's internal reality. The engine also allows for sophisticated psychological tools, like the fourth wall break used in Fleabag. When a character speaks directly to the lens, it creates a safe, intimate connection with the audience. For the character, it's a shield, a way to perform and distract from their own trauma by making the viewer their only confidant. But then comes the snap. A sudden trauma trigger or a burst of radio static forces the character to drop the act and slam their professional mask back into place, severing that intimacy instantly. We also integrated dynamic aspect ratios, a tool Sam Esmail used to great effect in Homecoming. The engine deliberately crops the frame, collapsing the widescreen view into a suffocating 1-to-1 square during moments of emotional confinement. It visually traps the viewer in the character's headspace. Only when the character takes action to break free of their mental loop does the frame dynamically expand back to full width. These aren't just stylistic choices. The custom pipeline allows us to create visual translations of a character's internal defense mechanisms. The final result is a project where the system code and the cinematic art are perfectly synchronized. This custom production line bridged the gap, allowing the internal struggles of these characters to be perfectly externalized without the friction of a corporate template. It proves that in a digital age, authenticity isn't something you can buy off the shelf. It's something you have to engineer. Earnest. When standard tools can't support the weight of your story, you don't compromise the art to fit the machine. Instead, you pick up the tools and modify the gear. When the blueprints for the story you want to tell don't exist, you stop following the instructions and build your own factory.